welcome you to our live video streams. These have come about primarily because of my studio practice, which has now led me to starting our Theresa Stirling Membership Collective. And that is a group that people can join. You can go to Next Level with theresastirling.com, and it basically is rolling monthly, and we do exclusive content, lives a couple times a month that you may rewatch. And we just go into deeper issues, art technique, encaustic technique, life questions, business, marketing, branding, how to build a high quality luxury brand, how to have those interactions, selling more of your work or your service. You don't have to be an artist to be part of the membership collective. We have members. We are getting more members all the time. It's really exciting. So thank you. Welcome, you guys. It's my pleasure just to be here with you live. We're in studio together. I am learning alongside of you always. We have a couple pieces on the table that I'll be working on while we're chatting. I hope the microphone sounds okay, the lighting. I think we can always reliably expect things to be a little imperfect and a lot flexible when you're live with me. Anyway, I want to use our time wisely. I'm grabbing an apron. And I always wear an apron when I'm in studio, as well as gloves, just because I work with hot wax. For those of you that I have not met yet or that I don't know well, I am an encaustic painter and have been full-time now for about 12 years, but I've been an encaustic artist for over 20. And I'm self-taught. I made a later in life career transition from biotech marketing. I was an econ major in college, and that's what my degree is in. So I, to be sure, have a business mind. I've had business ownership, co-ownership in my life. I have always run my own business, even in the biotech and big pharma sector. When I was in marketing, I did my own regional business management. So that comes naturally for me. And some of the great tenets that I've learned from that, I hope to help all of you just learn along the way. They're good ones to know, but they're also great for keeping the saw sharp in business and marketing and enhancing your direct to client relationships. And just an overall elevated experience. You know, we're all here for such a short time. I am of the feeling, let's have a really good time. And everything I do is that. It's loose, it's easy. We're not going to get too stressed about anything. I personally, when I think about whom I like to enjoy watching on YouTube or artists that I enjoy watching in studio, they're natural. They've lived a lot of life. They have a self-deprecating sense of humor. They like to smile, laugh, and have fun. That's really, you know, how I approach everything I do. I'm very earnest. I'm a striver. I'm a hard worker. I've probably done some of the largest scale encaustic works in the country, at least in the USA. And we do ship all around the country. I've done ceiling murals. I've done huge wall panel scapes, a lot of freight shipping, a lot of having, you know, resourced out who builds my crates, all the moving parts. You ask me, and I can usually share some of the tips in the trade. I also do one-on-one coaching. So for those of you who want to go deeper on your own personal next level practice, I can help you get there. I am working with clients already. It's been great. Some of them want technique questions answered. Some of them want me to help them with commissions, even, believe it or not, online. Some of them want to know more about art freight shipping or branding or marketing, or how do you break into the luxury collector market or the hospitality sector. So those are all really interesting topics for me. So location, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. That's where my studio is. I'm always daydreaming of a wider, larger space. I think that's human nature. But to be sure, I've always fully appreciated each space I'm in. I never assume others have an actual dedicated studio. I think that's truly a luxury. I loved having the tiniest spaces, a storage room space, a dining room table space, a laundry room with a counter space, a mother-in-law apartment. now, like two-car garage space that's rebuilt or built out. Just do what you can. Make sure that it feels good to you in terms of your own creative space. If you're not an artist, whatever your space is, where you do your best thinking, your best executing, your best formulating, and it really matters. And by that, I mean, of course, I can clean up the clutter here a little better. I'm constantly in motion here, so I'm kind of using that excuse, but I need to clean it up after some commissions and samples. But whatever space you have, just make it your most inspired. Put up, a couple pictures, or I have a little angel or a bluebird on the shelf that remind me of my mom that we lost in this past year in her 90s. Those things are meaningful to me. So it helps me work better. Um, and I have several rescue pets, dogs and cats. So if you hear barking, if you hear all hell break loose, it's probably the FedEx guy rolling up, or, who knows what. I just try to block out this time for us. So a couple of things. We're going to start layering some clear encaustic medium on this piece. And by that, I simply mean I'm just going to start putting wax down on it while we're chatting. And I'll share with you a couple topics that I think are relevant to the membership collective, and that's primarily who this audience is geared toward. So we expect that those tuning in are either just learning or want to go deeper on some of these topics. Feel free to post any of your questions or introduce yourself. I want to start building a really nice groundswell of community here. We may eventually move to a different platform and just have private forum so that we can interact a little better. I am not the best at fielding questions while I'm doing the live or working, so bear with me. I'll probably get better at it, but it almost takes an assistant. So anyway, I'm just gonna let you guys know what's happening. Okay, so a couple of thoughts that I have on topics that are important to me. And I guess the first one I'll start with is I'm winging it a little bit. Maybe that's my first topic. I love winging it. And that is how some of my best adventures, moments, relationships, anything like that in life have actually happened, is from winging it. It's having a considered sense of time, space, and place, and then saying yes when opportunity lines up. So that's an important element and a through line in everything that I do in my practice, in my life, in parenting, in relationships, in family, in love, whatever it is. That's an important consideration for how I pivot, how I operate. And it becomes then a gateway to surprise, the element of surprise. My mom and I used to talk about that a lot and how wonderful it is. And why is it wonderful? Well, some of it is because we suspend expectation and something happens and we can say, that is really cool. It happens all the time with art. It happens while I'm creating. It happens in business. I got the nicest outreach yesterday from someone who's a congressperson across the country and is interested in potential custom art for their place, new place that they're building. That's the element of surprise. I garner no expectation that someone like that is calling me out of the blue or emailing, but it does happen, and I'm delighted. I'm delighted, and I love the feeling of delighted. So working in encaustics has been a really fascinating journey of exploration. Again, doing it over 20 years, it's an ancient primal medium. It's wax from bees and sap from trees. Many of you know that. And it's just a lovely medium to work with. What I have here is clear encaustic medium, by the way. And I'm doing a couple clear layers. I'm going to heat this up just a little bit more. Basically, the idea of these lives is we're together and we just think tank stuff. And as we get more and more people joining us live, we can start doing more of an interchange, an interplay, question answer. And these videos will be available for rewatch. So the encaustic medium is an ancient medium way back to 400 BC. The Greeks were sealing the hulls of sailboats and realized you could get creative and paint with it. And then the Egyptians were using encaustics to artfully entomb their ancestors, their loved ones. And so it has real deep roots. And it's just a really neat medium. I work with the beeswax and then I fuse it with fire. Some of us use heat guns too. Both are great. And no matter where you're at in your practice, if you are an encaustic uh, painter, always here to support any questions, any struggles you might have, or any ways you want to go deeper with that. It's limitless, really. So what I'm doing right now is just heating this up a little bit more on a back burner. I'll see if this one's probably, I like it just at about 200 degrees Fahrenheit so it glides effortlessly across the image. I'm a photo encaustic artist, which means I generally work from a photographic photo at the base. And I get those professionally printed at the local FedEx Kinko's. We can talk more about that if you need to go deeper specifically. But I start with 2 clear layers and then I fuse, and it gives me just a really nice little bit kind of clouded image of the original. And so that's how I start every piece. And what I'm doing with this one is painting it and then making it available in inventory, which I think is a refreshing thing for me, only because I typically spend my time perennially working on art commissions. And I love that. That's where my practice has intentionally evolved to. It's nice to have some work in inventory, and I have the time to do it right now. So I'm working on the membership, giving it my focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. You guys know that, right? And so I'm working on some of these other wonderful pursuits, as well as I've got some commissions that are flowing in shortly. So having a couple pieces in stock and in inventory is key, but the key is only a couple. I personally do not want or wish for an inventory problem. I don't love having a lot of pieces around that are available for purchase, but just sitting without an owner. To me, that is just not my style. It creates more of a clutter in my mind. I like to keep it decluttered, and quite frankly, I like doing things custom. The photo encaustic approach for me lets me reach into that custom work because quite frankly, I'm not that great at drawing. And I've never been that one who was great at drawing or spent my time even doing it. I was not artistic as a child or a young adult. Creative, yes, not artistic necessarily. So it's ironic that this is now what I do. I find it incredibly fulfilling. So winging it is one of our overarching topics while I'm working. So what does that mean even in business or when we're creating? It simply means show up regularly, daily, stay curious, but it means stay ready for whatever comes up. If somebody says, "Hey, I want you to go to this event with me," give it a consideration, particularly if it's your natural universe where you might meet some interesting contacts for business or fun or what have you. But the winging it piece is so deeply important to me because spontaneity is often where the riches and the niches are. And I don't mean to sound, everything is hyperbole here, but I'm just saying it's really true. And I've found all this to be true over and over. But it's the micro habits every single day that lead us on that path, the continuum to stay sharp with our creativity, our business acumen, if that's what we're doing, and or our ability to interact with others. I mean, all of those are at play all of the time, no matter what you do. If you're retired, it's still at play. You know, I've been chatting with different people who are at the second season of their life, and what a fun and interesting time for them. They love to keep their minds engaged, as do I. So, I don't know, I'm just letting you know, be willing to wing it, but that also means just showing up every day for whatever it is. And I find in my own art studio and business practice, showing up every single day is essential. It doesn't mean I'm painting every day. I spend a wide amount of time on the admin, the social media, the ordering, the resupply, the taxes, the books. I'm doing it all, you know, kind of too much, but that's entrepreneur life. Um, but anyway, winging it is really, really essential to what we do. And so I just can't stress that enough, or the importance of it to have led me to some of the luxury art sectors that I've been able to interface with and work with. Some of you have asked, man, how do you break into that? And that, quite frankly, is my answer. I'm working hard, but I'm ready for the opportunities. So that's one take I have. The other take that is really important to me and how I live my life on, especially work and business and art, is say yes to a great or cool opportunity and then figure it out later. And again, not feeling casual or not trying to sound casual, but I think if you're willing to say yes to neat opportunities, you'll have the time to figure out the mechanics of it and the parts and the pieces. So just stay open to the element of possibility. I'm also, when creating, thinking this through, can't underscore enough the importance of just wonderment when you're creating, when you're taking a break, when you're out in nature. This weekend we had a wonderful time being out in nature at a beautiful cabin on a canal, and it was such a respite from day-to-day life of got all the things to do. And what comes clear for me when I get a chance to be in nature is how inspired I am by it, how much it refreshes me, how much it resets me in a baseline way, and just how much better I show up in the week. I mean, I'm still slammed and have tons I'm trying to fit in, but I don't know, getting out in nature gives me a lot of wonderment and a lot of deep appreciation. So I always recommend that to people no matter what they're doing in life. It's the antidote to everything. Nature always nurtures, in my opinion. Um, and I have a deep and wild appreciation for nature's artistry. You just can't improve upon it. So, anyway, it's really fun to be at this point of the journey that I'm in, to interact with people, answer questions when they have them, and also to share some of what I've learned over time. I think one of the great tenets that I have learned is always under promise and over deliver. I know it sounds simple, but it's so foundational to success, at least in my experience. It's really helped me reach into a lot of high heights. So, those are some things I'm thinking about right out of the gates. As far as artists go and what makes someone kind of go next level, I'm trying to get our private Facebook page, and anybody's welcome to join that if you're an artist. It's Theresa Stirling. No, it's Encaustic Workshops with Theresa Stirling. We are starting to have more conversations about composition. And composition is a wide ranging, complex topic when it comes to artwork. I was not classically trained in art, but I've tried to educate myself on what compositional considerations are and what does that term mean. It just simply means how things are arranged in a painting or a piece of artwork. And I'm trying to get the group to start looking at, what do you notice about a piece when you look at it? What strikes you? What delights you? What resonates with you? But thinking in terms of, are there contrasts in it? For a painting to be really compelling or to get someone's attention, which if anyone's trying to create, one might assume you want to have artwork that's delighting others, yourself, but also that might sell if that interests you. What creates great artwork, simply put, are the contrasts. You need light and you need dark. You need the contrast. Um, so that's one consideration. And anytime students are saying, I don't know what else this piece needs, while I never profess to have all the answers, again, I'm a self-taught myself, I know what looks good to the eye for me and others. And I also know what sells oftentimes. And so sometimes I'll gently remind people if a piece is maybe compositionally too dark, just tuck in some white, tuck in some highlights, something that gives that dark matter definition. Maybe you're just outlining some rose petals or what have you, or conversely, maybe too much light and then you need some low lights. The darks are really essential. As you'll see when I start a piece like this, I go right in and I start with the low lights. I start laying in the darks. Okay, we have one coat down. I'm going to park this and turn this piece around. It's fun, like I said, to be creating a couple pieces to have an inventory, because when somebody reaches out, or I can put it on my website, then they say, hey, do you have any art available? And that's just easier for everyone sometimes. So I like it. I like it a lot. And again, as an economy type economics person, that's, you want to fill kind of every seat when you can. Not everything's going to be custom. Uh-oh, this piece wants to stick to the paper today. I don't want to knock over the camera. So let's see, we talked composition. So more on composition, because it is a complex topic and I can't tell you as much as some of those who have studied it for years and years and years, but I can tell you viscerally what I think appeals to people. And it's the right selection of colors that work well together. You can always look at a color wheel and kind of say, would this color complement this one? Or what do I need to do to bring this color blue more over to the turquoise hue or whatever? Yes, I'm always moving big stuff in the studio, by the way. My low back feels it. Anyway, so on composition, color's a biggie. Complementary colors is a big deal. You want to make sure things look good together and in concert, in harmony. And personally, I like work that's soothing. I like interiors that are soothing. I like that whole mix of looking at something that makes me feel at peace. It makes me feel restful. That's just an important consideration in art for me and in interior design. I've been blessed to help with and be around and see and witness many luxury homes, luxury interiors. In fact, luxury interior design is just a true love and a latent wish and desire for me. I would love to help people, just from a consulting angle. And I have, and I do, with choosing their rugs, their sectional, their sofas, but all of it interplays. So I tend to like art and create art and like interiors and create interiors for others with them. I'm not an interior designer per se, but I've done consulting. I like things that are soothing. I like things that are restful. It's an out breath. So that's kind of art that I like to create. I call it atmospheric. That's a term for it. There's abstract expressionism. I'm often drawn to that. So I'm going for the second layer now as we're chatting. More on composition. And there are others like Nick Wilton, who's an artist. He really talks a lot about this type of thing. The shapes and the lines and the mark making in your work are powerful, and they can be very powerful as it relates to great artwork, composition. What do people notice with their eye? So for example, you might have a line or a square in the lower right corner. And it might be nice to have a contrasting shape or block or splotch of, contrasting complementary color up in the upper left or something like that. You don't have to go for symmetry at all, but you just want to be aware of what you're setting up in terms of the arrangement of things in your artwork. So shapes are kind of a biggie. And if you have small marks in the lower left, you might want to do a wide swath in the upper right, or, you know, oppositional direction. You want to set up some interplay that holds the viewer's attention, makes them want to gaze at it, and also that they kind of see things that make them feel alive. And what makes people feel alive? They can sense your energy in the piece. That comes from time, it comes from showing up, it comes from mastery of the materials, it comes from being comfortable with what we do. And that's a lot of what we talk about ongoing. How do you put your own energy into a piece? Some of it comes from your own confidence with the work you're creating. Some of it just comes from working at it for a while. Some of it comes from knowing when to pivot. Maybe you need to take it in another direction. Maybe you need to go over it and start again. Maybe it needs to go on the burn pile because energetically it's slowing you and it's not allowing you to move forward on anything else or any other pieces. I personally love to work on multiple pieces at a time. It keeps my mind sharp. It keeps me physically moving. And it also allows me to maximize the use of my hot materials at once. So, for example, if I'm doing base layers like we are together here, I will tend to try to get those all done on a couple pieces because this particular wax is already hot in the saucepans. And so it's as much economies of time, energy, and resources. So working on multiples, even the composition of multiples, works for me. If I'm working in blues, it makes sense to just go in that direction. Go in always ride the horse in the direction it's going, said a friend. And I believe that to be true. It makes good sense. It makes life easier. More on composition. So we have the contrast of light and dark. We have shapes. We have the arrangement of things. And I would say, think about how it reads, top to bottom. Photographers, for example, use the rule of thirds. You don't necessarily have to use that in creating art if you're an artist. Yet there's something to be said for the top of a painting. For me, I like it to have more of a funneling up of light, more of a lift. I like things to feel like, maybe they're dark weighted at the bottom, which gravitationally works. Excuse me, and I think the eye sees it that way. So just considering these things when you're looking at stuff. And I think the mark making is the unsung hero. So what do we mean by mark making in general? It's the little topspin, it's the little quirk that you throw at a piece where you say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna put a little splash of lavender in the sky. Or you might take one of those little oil crayons and just say, I think I'm just gonna do this right here and give it a little whimsy. Sometimes I'll just take a little paintbrush and just splash it over into the upper portion. One of the tools that we use all the time in encaustic art are these nice pottery loop tools. These are essential for any encaustic practice, I would think. But it's a way to dig into the wax layers. And you may go deeply or you can just go superficially and take out things. You can add things. You can incise a more precise line. One cool way, it's a little tip and technique, to incise a line is, let's say this is a block of dark brown. Let's just say it's painted dark brown and it's solid. And then you can take one like this, or even a little bit. You can even take, oh, here we go. This is one of my favorite tools. Let's see if you guys can see this. This is a small scraper that has more of a point on it. And you can take the point on it and just incise a line however you want. And by incise, I mean you're just taking off little curls of wax like that. And more, you want to kind of basically dig a little trough and then take your contrasting color. Let's say for sharpness and visibility, you could take a white, and you just take your brush of encaustic white and dip it in here. Dip, 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 just go along here. So then you have the white in that little canal that you drew. And then you take a broad loop tool back and you slowly just go over it like this. So you're basically leaving what's in the deep trough, but you've scraped away the uppermost, and then you just kind of clean it up and you have this precise little line that's tidy. It's such a satisfying thing. You learn that early in encaustics. And let us know in comments, if you are an encaustic artist, if there are certain tips and tricks that you wish to learn, because we can try and work that in. Also, questions and answers. Just put any questions now, or if you rewatch this at a later date. I don't expect that the lives always work for everyone. And by the way, they take a long time to upload, and that is the way that YouTube uploads. They have a lot of compression things that they fit in there. They have to do it a certain quality. I'm trying to change that so they load faster, but sometimes it'll take 12 to 24 hours. It's crazy. Anyway, if you have questions on business, marketing, encaustic art technique, and so on, please just ask, because that's what this forum is about. That's what our Stirling Art Studios, Stirling Studios membership collective is. It's people coming together because they wish to go deeper. I mean, it's about the price of a tall latte a month. It's really something that I think you'll get a lot of benefit from. And I am so happy to be bringing more exclusive content to those who want richer, want deeper, want to go further into the questions. So we have 2 layers down. As promised, we're just going to keep on working and talking, working and talking. So I use a couple different torches in my own art practice. This is a butane torch. It runs really hot. I like the nozzle because it's a little bit of a more broad flame and you can adjust it. It also gives tremendous immediate gratification, which Americans tend to love. I also work often with a propane industrial type plumber's torch. These are the 2 I use primarily. You can go with the teeny dessert ones if you're doing fine lines, although I never really use teeny. And then I have a very large custom torch that has a custom-made nozzle. They use those for like at the boat docks and so on. So I'm lucky enough to have that with a big propane tank. And so that's when I jump up on tables and really have to jam. Anyway, on composition, I really want to touch on mark making, and hopefully with my new little handy microphone, I hope it sounds okay. I'm going to just keep on torching and talking with you. Mark making is a really, like I said, an unsung hero in the composition and creation of encaustic art. And the reason I say that is, and with other paint mediums as well, you have a lot of opportunity to create just a little simple mark that says you were there. It might be a splash, it might be a squiggle, it might be an addition left textured of the encaustic wax, which is a really cool option that we as artists have. But just leaving your little signature, your little mark, is really pretty special. And that, the accumulation of that in an art piece, is what I mean by make sure that people can feel your energy in the piece. And if you're showing up regularly and you're creating with regularity, people will feel your energy in your art. And guess what? Sales and selling art is basically a transference of energy. Marketing can feel that same wonderful way. It's just it's a luxury transfer. If you have a great quality product and you believe in it, it's a luxury transfer conversation. You don't have to hard sell anything. People come to you, they're interested, or you come to them, they're interested, and you can just extol the virtues of what you do. So the mark making is what makes art feel alive, in my opinion. And I interact with a lot of people who do appreciate a little bit more of a loose style, which lends itself very well to mark making, whimsy, energy infused art. That's the stuff that finds homes. That's the stuff that people covet. That's the type of thing that luxury residences and office spaces and corporations, that's what they want to be surrounded by. Everybody is kind of, to quote one of the artists that I follow, everyone is kind of wandering around looking for something to make them feel more alive. And great artwork can really do that. It can elevate your everyday experience. What better thing to have near you all the time? It holds energy, it conveys energy. And that's something to really consider when you yourself are creating. What a gift that is to somebody else who chooses it, should you be selling your work. And if you're not selling your work, that's great. You can still be here to learn tips, tricks, techniques. As you can see, I'm fusing this art in a rhythmic sort of way, and that just helps me keep the surface more even, a little more flat. I'm watching the light glint off the beeswax. Once it's melted, I'm moving very slowly but surely so I don't create a hot spot or burn anything. And I do it rhythmically so that, again, the wax surface is evenly fused and I'm not missing any areas. And if I do, I'll catch them, but it's okay. Creates a little bit of a strain on my lower back working on large panels on the regular, that's for sure. I feel it. Who doesn't feel it? Anyway, sometimes I just pinch myself that I get to do artwork, on the regular. It's a really rich, wonderful endeavor, and I take it very seriously. One hot topic that a lot of us discuss on, at least on the pages that I'm on and the ones that I'm the admin for, we talk a lot about pricing our artwork, and I'll probably save that in-depth discussion for one of our membership collective lives, because I think it's better to get other people's opinions weighed in and considered too. But I can tell you that for my practice, I just have consistently allowed myself to start at, a certain price point, and then over time, gradually notch that up. Sometimes you make exceptions and it's okay, particularly if they're friends, family, or I think more importantly, if people are interested in multiple pieces. I think spaces, work or home, benefit from multiple pieces of the same medium. I've seen it over and over with my collectors, how encaustic art enhances the home, but it's a reverberation of a really unique surface medium throughout their home, their kitchen, their great room, the hallway, the upstairs, the atrium. It's really cool. I have one family, maybe a couple, but one family I can think of in particular, they literally have at least 7 or 8 of my pieces. So a few are small in the kitchen, but a few are of the largest I've ever done. One was a huge forest scape, a northwest forest, and my mom, when I showed it to her, it was an image of me working on it. She thought I was actually in a forest. It was so cute. But it was a photo encaustic piece, and I'll show it to you guys sometime. It was really a pleasure to work on. And I think that's the other thing is if you're creating, try to find a cohesive style that resonates with you, because you'll enjoy putting your energy into it more. For example, most of my work is steeped in nature. It's atmospheric landscapes, it's atmospheric oceanscapes, seascapes, mountains. Mountains I could paint forever and ever and ever. Wildlife, I've done all the animal kingdom types, the bobcats, the mountain lions, the wolves, the bears, the bison, buffalo. The iconic American bison is a cool subject that I've really enjoyed. I'm gravitating more towards kind of more Rothko-esque landscapes, atmospheric, soft, smooth, gradient transition of color. That's really resonating with me now. Simple but complex. There's complexity and simplicity for sure, you guys, no matter what you're doing. And that's a big topic for me on some of the lives when we talk about things, is not to underestimate the importance of simplicity. Simplify, simplify where you can, in life, in your surroundings, your home, your stacks of books, your magazines, your to-do lists. I mean, I have to take my own advice. Believe me, I'm not there entirely, but simplify to amplify is one of the things I like to share with people, and I mean it deeply. It's a great way to be. So this piece has its clear layers on. I'm not sure how far along some of these are, but I might even consider showing you guys just how I add a little bit of color. I was going to just stick with doing the top layers, but I might add a little bit of color just to show you how that lays down if you're new here for Encaustic art. So simplify. That's a really important thing to be aware of, to implement, to strive for. I think it makes life a whole lot easier. I was listening to someone live the other day. I think it was on YouTube, and they said, in terms of simplifying, just try to get, I'm just laying down some dark. So this is what I mean by I go in with low lights first. This piece has a lot around the rim. I'm going to see if I can open it up here. Just one second. Do that with this. See if I can do it with this scraper tool. I might just make a huge mess, but I can just get this kind of cleaned up around the edge. I can get a brush in and out. I love wax because I'm always manipulating soft wax to go different directions. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, this guy was saying, in order to simplify, challenge yourself to just get rid of one personal thing a day. If it's not really essential to your everyday well-being, you can let it go, probably. Consider letting it go. And I think that's a great way to take baby steps into simplifying. I'm not saying, oh, get rid of all the stuff. We don't need the stuff. Believe me, I love the options, and I love to bring in something new that delights me. But I'm liking the idea and the subtle challenge for myself. I like the idea of some austerity of things, even in the art that I create, the business that I run. I often tell people who are curious about getting into having their own business is just pick one thing and do it well. It just makes a lot of good sense. I think some businesses, many do and have run into great trouble simply because they wanted to take on the world. They want to chase the universe. And that can really water down the goal, the concept, the quality of service, and so on. So I know I'm not changing the world with this advice, but I think it's worth reminding everybody to pick one thing and do it really well. That's worked for me professionally. And, I've had various business co-ownership um, opportunities in my life, but I think things can really go asunder if you're trying to do too many things and too many things well, because then nothing's getting done well. It's getting too watered down in the energy and the quality and the follow-up. And that's probably the case also with art. If you want to have recognition amongst others and your collectors, maybe start to develop your own artist voice. And look at this, all these topics, just one tail leads to the other, leads to the other. But these are the things I read about. These are the things I listen to on podcasts. These are the things that my mind thinks about. These are the topics and conversations I have with other engaging minds and business people and people that I love, that I'm close to. These are the things that interest me greatly. Um, Finding your artist voice, or even just your business platform voice or ethos, is really an important consideration too. Let's see if I can bring this closer. I'm kind of having fun putting in the darks while I'm talking to you guys. I didn't really plan on this, but guess what? We're winging it. We're always winging it. I hope this isn't too loud. The microphone, sorry. I forget I have one attached to me. I'm trying out this new little furry microphone. I hope it's working. I'm sorry about the tech challenges I've had starting out our membership collective live videos, but we'll get there. Tech is not my sweet spot. I certainly know enough to get by. That's how I run a business. I rely on a lot of tech. But doing the lives is new for me, so I'm trying to harness it up and get a little bit better. So finding our artist voice, or just our business voice, is, to be sure, something that comes over time, but I would give some real deep, quiet, considered thought and judgment about what you value personally, what resonates with you deeply, and what you aspire towards. I would get all those things really clear, write them down, practice them daily, think about them, meditate about them, whatever it is that suits you best in your life and your world. And, I can just share with you some of what I do. That's why I like to think we're getting people into our membership collective, is they understand that I have spent many, many years, pondering what makes a good business run. And always at the foundation of any sort of commerce is your ability to interact with folks. People are always your currency, your best currency. I mean, even I met some fella way up in Anchorage, Alaska, who was making handmade artisan knives and firearms, or maybe it was just handguns, I don't know. But he had a professional job. It was his hobby. He had a wait list of people literally for years, at least 3 years. And I thought, wow. But even a person like that, he's not constantly trying to interact with people or get new business, but he was personable. And it is essential, even if people want your stuff, you still have to know how to relate to them. You have to know flexibility, to be able to say yes to your customers' wishes within reason, say yes and then figure it out later. When you're in business, flexibility, as with life, flexibility is the name of the game. So I use that in my life. I practice it in my life the best that I can. I had someone cancel on me. Well, not cancel, but yesterday say they weren't as available for the weekend for doing something that I had set up with them. And I thought and thought and thought about it. And I thought, gosh, how am I going to pivot from this? So I just put out a few feelers to other people that I have great relationships with. And they surprised me with, hey, yeah, I might be able to do it. Let me get back to you. Or someone in my family or household can do that. Let me get back to you. And that's all a sum total of interfacing with others, having good rapport, Same thing holds true in business, you guys, to be sure. So, nothing you don't already know, I'm quite sure, but I think the reminders are good. This piece is coming along beautifully, and all we're doing is a couple coats and the darks. It's just so much fun. So you're looking at it from a side angle view, but I'll bring this around so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. It's kind of weird to pick it up and just move it, but it is a live session, so why not? So this is it on the table. This is a landscape. I'd call it an atmospheric landscape. I'm looking forward to these really warm rusts and then these beautiful pops of more of a rich, deep blue, but subtle and quiet and transitional sky. I mean, this is an exciting piece for me to work on, to be sure. And it will ultimately have at least 12 to 15 layers of beeswax, pure pigments, and fire. So we got that one started. I think at this point, I will rest this can of wax back on a hot plate. I just use the Presto hot plate griddles. I have an Amazon shop. I guess Amazon considered me to be someone that could potentially sell products, which is nice. So you could always look up Theresa Stirling Art Studios for the products that I do use in studio. There's the waxes, there's the Presto griddles, there's the pottery scrapers, the torches, the butane, the propane, the shellacs, the pigments. The dry pigments I like are Gamblin usually. I do use some oil paints for pigments too. It's just kind of a mix. So check it out yourself, see what you think. I'm going to do a quick time check here. Thank you guys for being with our live session. I appreciate it. Again, I realize not everybody can make the live, so these are watchable later. And I'll just keep working. That's my plan. Working and having occasional sips of water. So we've talked about a wide variety of things. Finding your artist voice is one that still can be unpacked for days and weeks and months. But I think it's worth talking about, what is your artist voice? Are you drawn to pieces that are tight lines and show good restraint? And they show order. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit here. Thinking just about what your voice is. Maybe your artist's voice is one that's incredibly alive, bold strokes, energetic, statement piece. Everything is a statement piece. And that is compelling. I mean, I see some people who do like these grandiose, kind of headdress type pieces, and yet they're abstract and they're interesting and they're bright reds, and that's that work is iconic. Like, I usually know who one of those artists are if I see them. So I think considering what your artist voice is over time is worthwhile. It comes from creating a lot. It comes from self-worth, a lot of self-worth, ongoing work on our own internal self-worth, and that's an inside job. It's about your relationship with you, and ultimately I think everything is. I'm learning that personally, in my own life and through all of life's ladders. Everything's ages and stages. The only thing that's permanent is change. And I think developing your artist voice is learning what you can tolerate. Like, for example, I leave mistakes often in my pieces now. I used to rush to scrape them out. However, I am going to scrape out these big drips right here. They're not supposed to be there. Maybe down the road I would leave those too. I'm laughing just because it's like I'm saying one thing and doing another, but for the most part, there are lots of drips in here, and I'll kind of scrape out these nubbier little pieces and just set that aside. I reuse most of my wax scrapings in different ways creatively. A lot of people want to know where I buy my encaustic wax. I get it online, Amazon. but I get it from RF Paints is the supplier, and I think they have the finest product. You pay for it though, and I use it for all of my work now, which is primarily commission work. So it's just, it saves me time. I used to make my own medium, but I found it to be a lot of work, a lot of steps and a lot of work. So back to your artist voice and the self-worth piece. So I read a book this past couple of months. It took me a while to keep picking it up and getting through it. And some of that was just because I was savoring it. It was a lot of good stuff. But I'll show the book to you, and I hope the live is still picking up. Last time it truncated us. This book is fantastic. It's an easy read, honestly, even though it's pretty thick hardback. It's called Worthy. All the proceeds are being donated to good causes for women who, maybe it's not just women, to folks who are trying to get into business and so on. It's by Jamie Kern Lima. She's on a lot of the podcasts and circuits and Oprah shows and everything. Her story is an interesting bootstraps one. She had a very hard, tough childhood, was in the foster care system, fraught with all the bad things. She eventually was brought in by a mother in a family who loved her very much. But nonetheless, she always struggled in her life with her own worth. And she went on to become passionate about solving a problem she struggled with, which is skin rosacea, the redness. And by the way, these are all on birch panels, just in case you're wondering. And so she developed a particular product for the redness in the skin, and she called it It Cosmetics. You may have heard of it or seen it. And it's actually a really successful brand today, but it took her a very long time to get any traction with it. And she was trying to get someone to pick up her small cosmetics line specific for this purpose. Anyway, a lot of these sharks in these boardrooms and company CEOs would say very demeaning things to her about her appearance. They would say, "Oh, look at you, you're heavy, you don't have great skin yourself. How are you going to sell this product?" What do you know? She, with total tenacity and showing up and purpose, she ended up getting her line picked up, I believe, by L'Oreal. And she ended up becoming, well, for one, she sold it for over $1 billion. She then was quite happy to reach out to those other people who were very unkind to her. And she said, "Hey, guess what? It all worked out. You too can go pound sand, because now I have a place for my business." But she was deeply grateful, still is. I'm going to bring another piece around for us to work on together. And she became the company's first female division CEO and leader, whatever. And it just was a really great story of how perseverance, showing up, tenacity, and self-worth and purpose all came together to line up, and she eventually got her dream realized and then some. And now she can give back. And that's a perfect circle, in my opinion, you guys. I love the giving back. I love the perfect circle. And, I think it's important. I mean, my studio strives hard. We give back to animal shelters, education, food banks, and so on. So I just think it's an interesting story. If you get a chance, grab it and then pass it along. And it's also at libraries. So looking for another little booty for my shoes. But of course, I can't find one. So we're going to just have to get by with partial. Talk about flexibility. All right. So anyway, I am about to keep moving along with these layers. So we've talked about some cool topics. I want to make sure that we stay on point. We've covered actually a lot of topics. I have a few notes here. We've talked about composition. Composition is huge in a piece. Finding your artist voice is drawing on all of that and bringing it all together beautifully. So you want to give compositional considerations to the work that you do. And there are compendiums of information on how to have great art composition online. So do yourself a favor, and I will too. Research that a little bit because it will help you continue to do next level work. We've talked about showing up and winging it. I think another topic that we have touched on is, intuition. We'll go deeper on that in another segment, and you can rewatch one of our segments, I think 2 ago. We talk more about intuition, how important that is to be aware of it, in touch with it, and to know that it serves you well. You were born with it. It's your natural weather vane. It will steer you the right direction when something just doesn't feel quite right. Pay attention to it. I have found that it's worthwhile to be at those crossroads and really listen and go with your intuition. It will not, generally, it will not steer you wrong because it's looking out for you. It wants you to be safe. Oh, we got to get this tape out of here. Whoopsie. I don't know why I even have that there, but I shouldn't have laid down the wax on it, that's for sure. All right, this calls for a tool. Nothing like a little scraper lift tool to get this wax out of here, though. So intuition is really an important consideration for anything that you do in business, in relationships, in communication, in career pursuits, sales, commissions. Here's a great example. If someone asks you to do something custom as far as a coaching service or a project or even art, and you're not really comfortable with what they're asking you to do or the direction that it's going or the tenor that it's taking, pay attention to that, because ultimately it might lead you to greater discontent, greater unhappiness, and then you'll just be in a world of hurt. So just let your weather vane, your natural born self-protection guide, serve you. Of course, temper it and consider all the options. I mean, if you need a project and you need an income and you're wanting to say yes, just temper it with what your intuition is also telling you, because it's generally spot on. And so let's just keep talking about some of these other topics. I think the self-worth one, I just brought you that book. The self-worth is huge. No matter what age and stage we are at, the more you have a great relationship with yourself, the better we show up in dynamics with other people, the better we are in relationship, the better we are as executing the work that we do, the relationships that we have in selling or marketing. Self-worth is really is at the cornerstone of all that you do and all that you take on. And it's a very important consideration to pay attention to it, deepen it. Even if we're at a later stage in our life, we can all continue to work on that. And I am constantly amazed at how many of us, professionals in business, even perhaps later in life, show up and we're still sorting and sifting and dealing with some unresolved things, maybe from when we were younger. It might be, an anxious this or hurt that from someone that hurt our feelings a long, long time ago. We just haven't figured out how to let it go. It happens to all of us. None of us are immune to that, or comments that people have made to us in the past. But not that this is a counseling session by any means. I'm just trying to help all of us be next level in all that we execute, all that we do. Whoopsie. That was kind of a big spill, but we'll just mop it up with warm wax. I'm just trying to help all of us be next level with our pursuits, our ideas, just checking on time and interaction. Oh, thanks, you guys. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate it. Um, Having fun, making messes, being in studio. It's freedom. It's just like a moment to say, I love having a space to work in. It's really great. And any of you that want to see studio set up more in depth, from bike hooks to, you know, couches to crash on to burners to shelving, let me know. I'm pondering a bigger space, but it means the sun, moon, and stars would have to line up. So keep your fingers crossed with me. The self-worth is a really important consideration about how we show up in business dynamics, interacting with others, making our own business deals, as it were. A lot of what I do is interact with people on commission work, and they look to me as the person to guide them through the process, the lighting, the placement, the colors, the composition, the subject matter, the scale, the pricing. We get into the investment pricing conversations, and my own self-worth has to shine because my artwork has evolved to a place where the investment is only going in one direction. And I politely let people know that who often want it for perhaps a lesser investment. And it's not a battle or anything like that, but sometimes I have to walk away and sometimes they have to walk away. Sometimes they revisit it when it's a better fit, or me too. And that's okay. Everything is timing. But the self-worth piece is what's important. I want to continue to do work for others who value that I'm bringing 23 years of painting experience to it, and I'm bringing a lifetime of experience to each piece. I'm bringing all of what I've experienced to each piece of art that I do. The tips, the tricks, the appreciation of nature's artistry, the nuance, the mark making energy. I have to bring my own good energy to infuse it into a piece. So these are all, I think, important considerations that I hold within me. I hopefully put out into the world, and that I hopefully can impart to all of you who have expressed, wanting to be along for the ride. And I appreciate you all being here. It's my pure pleasure to keep teaching, showing up, inspiring others, and saying, let's do some really great things. Let's do some cool stuff. Let's have a lot of fun. Let's laugh. Let's see the goodness. I mean, I want to laugh every single day, and I want to laugh a lot every single day. And I'm very thankful to be growing alongside of all of you. So let's see, time-wise, we're probably just getting towards the tail end of this segment. I'm going to turn this around and we'll finish talking about our artist voice. And then any of you that have specific wishes, just let me know in the questions and comments. And priority consideration always given to my responses and response time for those of you who are engaging, who are part of our membership collective, and so on, because this is the nature of these lives. It's for you all. If I have left any impression upon you, it's just keep showing up, keep infusing your energies into all the things you touch and you do. The artist voice comment that I just want to finish up with, and then I just want to touch on one other topic. The artist voice, or whatever voice you're bringing to your brand, is really something you want to be clear on, because it represents you, it represents what you hold near and dear, and it represents how you want to move about in the world. So give it weighty consideration, make it resonate with you. In my case, I want my studio to represent a high quality brand. And I believe after well over 20,000 hours of technique and mastery time that my studio does represent that in terms of the product and the service that I put out there. I do some luxury high-end collaborations with architects, builders, subs, homeowners, interior designers. Um, that's hard won. That's being considered for projects that are elite because it's hard won time and boot leather and airline tickets. And, getting my work seen is no small effort. I'm a kind of a one-person band, but it always takes a team no matter what. So figure out how you want to show up. Do you want to show up as also a high quality brand? I would think so if you're here. Um, that takes a lot of attention to detail. It takes um, top level communication, and you know the old adage, leave it better than you found it, no matter what you come across. And a can do attitude. I had a conversation with a firm this week about doing some high level projects for custom homes and so on. And you want to have a can-do attitude. You want to express your sincere gratitude, and you want to be available and have a proven track record that you can turn out a tremendously high quality product. At least that's what I want to be known for. And that's how you get repeat business. That's how you get the referrals. And I always love it when small business owners say, I never have to advertise. Hopefully they're just getting really good high quality referrals. And you want to attract like-minded people to do business with if you're in a service or creating a product. And I'm thankful about that. That also means having the wherewithal to say no thanks when it's not the right fit for you. Again, it's knowing your self-worth, knowing what you want and what you want to deal with and who you want to deal with, and being really clear about how that feels for you. It's going to save you a lot of time and anguish for sure. So, can you guys tell that I love what I do? I'm just talking. As these lives continue, it will be less of me just prattling on and on. I like to think I'm sharing, substantive conversation, but I realize it's also one way just because I'm working and I can't catch any questions. Over time, we'll make that more interactive. But we've hit on some really good things today. I don't want to go too general and too wide of too many topics, but saying yes to things and figuring it out later, knowing your self-worth, how you want to show up, knowing how you want to show up in a marketplace with a product, good, or service, all really important. How to under promise and over deliver, also very important. And to you want to be in business these days, you do have to harness the tech in whatever capacity that is. But you do want to have, obviously, a great website, great print collateral. You want to have great photos. Encaustic photos are hard to get. It's hard to show the luminosity and the sheen and the texture of the work. It's a whole other subject. It's how to photograph encaustic artwork, but it's worth exploring and unpacking professionally. All these topics come up, by the way, in our membership collective and/or our private Facebook page on encaustic workshops. But if you would, consider the membership for yourself. If you're not yet a member, again, it's an easy join. Just drop over to Next Level with TheresaStirling.com, and Sterling is spelled with I's. And you'll get a lot of exclusive information. You'll get it to your inbox. You'll get a couple lives, invitations a month. We've promised to, but I'm trying to exceed that just because I've had tech snags and wanted to come out of the gate strong with extra content. And, I'm more accessible and available. I also do offer one-on-one coaching for those of you who want to take your life, your expansiveness, your law of attraction in the wider universe bigger and grander. I'm here for it. Doesn't matter what you do for a living. I mean, I interface with high level CEOs regularly. I interface with business owners and even crazy enough, millionaires and billionaires and multis and whatever. But we're all just the same. We're all just the same, you guys. We get up the same way every morning and we get rolling into the day. And what's interesting for me is how we move about the world as individuals. And human behavior is fascinating to me. And running a business is fascinating to me. Creating a life that you want is most fascinating to me. And I'm a byproduct of doing that in a way that is and has been stepwise so that I can make sure it all works financially, energetically, physically, the space considerations, all of it. I've always got a lot I'm juggling with rescue pets, and I'm proud of that. They make my life happy. They make me laugh. I've given them a great home, but they for sure add to my workload. I'm a proud parent, and so there's all those considerations that I'm always triangulating off of too. But what's cool about creating a life that you dream of, you guys, and all of you can do it, whatever it is, with whatever, you can do it. And the thing about it is options. To me, the most successful people appreciate what they have and they have choices. That's really what it comes down to. If you have, if you want what you have and you have options, you have choices, that to me is success. So I'm going to put this back on the hot plate. I'm going to try to remember to unplug it. It's danger central 911 if I leave these hot plates on and not unplug them at the right time. And we have just reached the moment, we've even gone a couple minutes over, that this wraps today's live. Again, thanks for your patience. It does take a while for this to upload on the YouTube platform. If anybody knows how to speed that process up, be sure to let me know. It has to do with the compression, the speed, the latency, or something like that. I'm not even sure, but I'm doing my very best to keep showing up with you, for you. Be sure to get on our mailing list and consider the membership if you would. It would mean the world to me. We already are rolling with great topics, cool things. We've got content written right out into the summer, so you'll be getting that direct into your inbox. We'll be doing the lives. I'm available to you guys. I'm cheering you on, and that's all at www.nextlevelwithteresastirling.com. And it's a delight to be with you. Thanks for keeping me company. If you couldn't make it today, I appreciate you wandering over here now whenever you're watching it. Leave a comment. Tell me what you thought. Tell me good things that you're thinking about or inspired to do for yourself personally or professionally. Maybe how I can help you lift. And just know that I'm cheering you on. Okay, you guys, have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll chat soon. Okay, bye-bye.